Before I comment on the lanyards for eyeglasses, let me comment about that spot on my forehead. I've had a number of basal cell skin cancers cut off over the years, and I noticed the spot looked a little suspicious. So I went to the dermatologist a couple weeks ago, and he said, "Oh, it's precancer," and he could freeze it. That's what that is. He gave it a really good freezing. I felt that one. Usually I didn't feel them too much, but he said you get a gold star for not waiting until it became real cancer and have to cut a bigger hole. Just wanted to mention that, especially if you're getting older, you've been out in the sun a lot when you're younger, you see a spot that doesn't look like it's healing right, get it checked out. It'll save you a lot of cutting later. Okay, now as far as the lanyards for glasses go, I use them all the time. I never used to until just a few years ago. A guy I worked with would wear them, and I was always losing my glasses, my safety glasses, my reading glasses, whatever, or sitting on them. You know, they fall off, sit them on the car seat. So I said, you know, getting a lanyard to hold these up, and the lanyard being a strap. Lanyard comes, I believe, from a French word, lanière, which means strap, literally. And I thought, okay, I started using them. But if you watched any of my 160 videos, you'll see that I work on all kinds of projects. Some of them outside, some of them inside, sometimes dangerous things. So I'm always switching between reading glasses like this, clear safety glasses like that, or sunglasses, which also happen to be safety glasses. All my sunglasses are also Z87 safety glasses. I just noticed that some of mine are Z87, some are Z87 plus. You can see that little marking usually on the sideband there. And that just means the difference in impact level testing. If it doesn't have Z87, you definitely don't want them. You're better off to have Z87 plus. Some of them will even have Z87 U6 on there, which means they will block more UV than normal. So, but in any event, I started using lanyards, and there's all kinds of them available. And I always thought they seemed kind of expensive for just basically a string connected to a pair of glasses. And so I'll show you an up close here in a minute of what I do. To avoid spending the money on them, I'd even just take mason's twine and tie them to the glasses like I did here, this orange twine. I've come up with a couple of methods for making my own, and my first goal was spend as little as possible. What have I got laying around here that will work? So I'll show you what I did. Let's look first at a couple of commercially available eyeglass lanyards. Sometimes they're called eyeglass holders. If you go to Amazon, you'll see them listed as either way, eyeglass holder, maybe an eyeglass lanyard. But this is a commercially available version. In fact, this is one of the things I wanted to show. This side is breaking here, just from use. But when they're good, when you first buy them, it's convenient because you can just slip this in over your eyeglass frame, and it'll accommodate slightly different sizes of frames, and you can move from one pair of eyeglasses to another. But like this shows, that's breaking just with use, and I don't like the size of this up there on my ear. I'm not real fond of that. Another commonly available type is, if I can find this here, a type of lanyard that has basically the lanyard, it's a strap, and you have like a miniature lanyard on the ends. It's got like a little coil wire that you can slip up around it and tighten that little loop up, so you can loosen it up, get it off your eyeglasses, put it on another pair, slip that back down, tighten it up. But I found that for the kind of work I do, I'm always breaking these things. That little tiny strap breaks a lot. That's why there's only one on this pair right here of reading glasses. But so wanted to show you that. You can find all the lanyards you want usually at sporting goods stores. or something like, Amazon's got a lot of them. But I wanted to come up with something different. So, okay, what can I do around here that is easy, it's available, and that will work? I wanted to see what could I use to make my own lanyards. I had this idea about using heat shrinkable tubing, and you can buy this stuff. This is a little packet I got from, I don't remember if it was Home Depot or Lowe's or where, different sizes. It's not real expensive. Okay, I've got a pair of Z87 Plus sunglasses here. I've had this lanyard on it. It's got the little lanyard loops on the ends and it keeps slipping off, so I've decided I'm just going to go ahead, put on one of my heat shrink lanyard connections here. So I just bought these from Lowe's. They're 1/4 inch down to 1/8 inch, which means they're 1/4 inch. I guess it's either OD or ID. They're pretty thin walls, so it doesn't really matter. And it shrink down to 1/8 inch. Paracord, also called parachute cord, is what they call a type of nylon kern metal rope. Now, the kern metal rope is a type of rope that means it's got a interior core protected by a woven exterior. Now, this information is from Wikipedia, but this is just a picture I took of my own parachute cord. I have a lot of this laying around from some earlier videos and experiments I did. You can see this inner core here and this outer sheath. I really like this for these lanyards because this woven nylon sheath to me is very comfortable and it's kind of easy to work with. You can just push the sheath back off of the core and kind of do what you want with it. But originally, paracord was used in the suspension lines of parachutes. Okay, I've cut my paracord to the approximate length I think I'm going to need for a lanyard. For me, it's better to err on the side of being a little bit too long. You can always shorten it. You tie a knot in that if it hangs down too far, or put a rubber band around it. It's hard to lengthen it if you get it too short to begin with. So I think this would be about right for me. So what I'm going to do is put a little E6000 on the end of this. Because adhesive is good because that heat shrinkable tubing, sometimes they have a glue in there. This doesn't appear to because it looks, I just use the heat shrink tubing alone. I don't necessarily get the paracord to stay inside of it like I would like. So put a little on there. Okay, there we go. I got about 1 inch of it in there, something like that. Now this other end, that's more than we need, so I'm going to cut off the excess. It only needs to be about 2 inches. That's roughly 3 inches, I think. And just slip it over the end of the frame here on the sunglasses. And we'll just take a hairdryer, turn it on, and heat shrink that tubing down around it. This is basically how you do it. Put your tubing, sheet shrink tubing on both over the paracord and the frame of the eyeglasses. Kind of heated up quite a bit. It took a lot longer than I thought it would. It finally shrunk up pretty good. Okay, I had to move to a different location. I had a lot of trouble getting this iPhone to focus on that heat shrink tubing. It must be because it's black. But anyway, it's about as good as it's going to get, and it worked pretty good. I've got one side done, now I'll do the other, and I'll be able to use them. This is one I completed like that. I used paracord and the heat shrink tubing. And the only thing I really don't like about this, other than having to buy the heat shrink tubing, but it's not expensive, is most of this stuff is designed for electrical applications. It could even have flame retardants incorporated into the polymers. Heat shrink tubing is typically cross-linked polyethylene, but it could have other additives. It's not really designed to be close to human skin a lot. I thought that's probably not the best choice. If you do use it, I'd definitely scrub it real good with soap and water before you use them. Now let me comment on the paracord. For the heat shrink tubing, it doesn't have to be paracord. It could be any kind of cord, like a shoestring, bootlace, whatever you can find. But for this next method, you really do need something like similar to paracord. But you just get your paracord and measure the length that you want. Just cut it off like that. And then you can take the sheet. The paracord is what they call kern mantle type rope. Originally it's called parachute cord. It's typically nylon with a woven sheath like this around the inner core. And it's real nice and soft. It's a fine mesh. I like the feel of this when I make these lanyards out of it. But you can just pull that back a little bit, that outer sheath, cut off the inner core strands, and then you can pull your sheath back out. And if you do it right, you'll be able to do that. Give yourself about 1 inch of sheath if you can, without the inner core. This side has the inner core protruding. The nice thing about paracord is it being nylon, it's so strong, you'll never have to worry about the paracord breaking. It's your eyeglasses that will break. But get that sheath back like that. Put a little something like, this is E6000. It could be something similar. It doesn't have to be E6000. Put that on your eyeglass frame. Again, I should be using my nitrile gloves, but I'm not. So do what I say, not what I do. And put that over there about where you need it. Put that on, and you can kind of tap it down, and as soon as that dries, you're good to go. And if your glasses break or get scratched, you can just cut off a little bit, shorten it slightly, and redo it, and you're back in business. So it's not as interchangeable as the store-bought types, but for my use, that's not the issue. My use is getting them to stay on, not breaking, and something cheap. I don't like spending money on lanyards. It just bothers me for some reason, but you can find a ton of them. You go to Amazon, all kinds of lanyards for sale, or sporting goods stores, things like that, you can find it. But this was my finished version with the just the E6000 adhesive and the parachute cord or paracord, and it works real good. And so, of course, you can't see me in this particular video, but so this does work pretty good. So that's what I'm going to use from now on. Now for the things like safety glasses have a very big end on them, I'll have to do something a little bit different. So what can you do if you've got a pair of safety glasses that has a real wide frame on it here, this end? It's paracord ain't going to slip over it as is, and it can't really stretch it out too well to go over it. Unless you go find some other kind of cord that will slip over it or do something else. There's one way you can use that same size paracord with something like this. First of all, we do the same thing as we did before. We'd pull out a bunch of the inner strands. In this case, probably a little more than we did before. And let's see if I can get that and cut off the excess. It's hard to do this without fraying the ends of all this. But once you've got that done, you can stretch this cord back out, pull the sheath back out away from that inner cord, so you got some room in there. And then find yourself a relatively small paper clip like this. We're going to insert it in there, but we're going to put a little glue on it so that it will stay in there. In this case, I'm still using the E6000. Could be something else, doesn't have to be this. Let's put a little on this here. And don't have to have a huge amount in there. There's really no load on this. I mean, the only weight on this ever really is the weight of the glasses. Okay, now I'm going to take this and try to slip it up over it best I can. It'll be a little hard to do. Kind of grab the end of it and pull it up. Try to pull it all the way up or as far as I can in reason. Doesn't have to be all the way up, as long as it's glued in there. You can kind of glue these frayed ends down, and we'll let that dry. Okay, our adhesive is dried. Let's take a look at this. So we got the paper clip and just slip it through there. Just bend the end down over a little bit. You don't want it slipping off. There we go. Works. And in this case, you can change safety glasses or other types of glasses if you want. So that looks pretty good. And remember, our objective in all this was find some relatively easy, inexpensive way to make your own lanyards. Not to make the prettiest one around, but one that's comfortable and works. We looked at 3 different ways of making lanyards for eyeglasses. And the heat shrink tubing type, which is on these sunglass safety glasses right here, and just using little E6000 adhesive and a paracord. Of course, with the heat shrink tubing, you don't need paracord. You can use any kind of cordage in there. I like this particularly well. You don't have to have heat shrink tubing laying on your ear and that sort of thing. And this actually is worked out real well. Using the paracord with just a little paper clip I had laying around, and it's interchangeable, so I can just slip this paper clip off, put them on another pair of glasses that have a hole in them like this, and that'll work. So hope you got something out of this. If not, maybe you can just buy your lanyards from Amazon or a local store. By the way, as you can tell, I don't mind looking like a super nerd. This obviously ridiculous. I usually don't have 3 of them hanging on me, but it is very convenient if you're just working outside and sometimes you need sunglasses, sometimes you need clear safety glasses, or sometimes you got to see something up close. Or do what a lot of people do, which is simply hang their glasses like that. So, hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please like the video and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you.